xin chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đã quay trở lại với livestream. Lâu quá rồi không livestream để mà cho các bạn chơi với các bạn PoE. So cũng còn 4 tháng rồi Pyrelics mới ra mùa mới ha. Ôi càng ngày cái mùa nó càng thụt lùi lại, lâu lắm rồi nó mới ra mùa mới. So hiện tại thì còn 25 phút nữa thì cái live reveal nó mới bắt đầu, cho nên mình live sớm để mà lên ngồi tán góc với anh em thôi. Hiện tại thì mình cũng đang tập leveling lại con Witch. Thì hiện tại mình đang chơi Elementalist Fire Trap. Mình dự định là sẽ chơi con nhân vật này để mà league start. Tại mình thì chơi tới Act 8 rồi và đam mình thấy khá là ổn, cho nên nếu mà không có gì thay đổi thì có thể là mình sẽ chơi cái build này để mà league start. Cái build này là của Subtraten. Ông nói là đồ mua thì rất là rẻ nhưng mà đam của nó thì rất là cao, có thể giết boss rất là dễ, cho nên mình cũng muốn thử xem sao. Và mùa nào thì mình cũng chơi Witch hết, cho nên đây là một cái build chơi Elementalist thì rất là phù hợp với dự định của mình luôn. Mùa trước thì mình league start với lại Hydrosphere chơi cũng ổn, nhưng mà bấm hơi nhiều. But yeah, this one is good. Đầu league thì sẽ live ở đâu ạ? Đầu league mình sẽ live bên YouTube nha. Bên Twitch này mình nói rồi, mình chỉ stream bên đây để mà các bạn nhận cánh thôi. Bên Twitch này thì mình có live bên này thì mình cũng không có được lợi gì á, tại vì bên đây follow bao nhiêu 31 người à. Bên YouTube thì mình được 5.000 người subscriber rồi, nên phải ưu tiên bên YouTube hơn. Put your hands up around maybe. Nah, I'm gonna make it full screen like this later, and then you're gonna see the chat, so it should be fine. YouTube nếu mà livestream, nếu mà nói chuyên về livestream thì bên Twitch ổn hơn, nó có nhiều cái function hơn. Nhưng mà mình thì hồi trước giờ mình livestream bên YouTube rồi quen rồi, anh em xem bên đó cũng quen rồi, cho nên mình cứ tiếp tục bên đó thôi. Với lại follow cũng subscribe bên đó của mình cũng nhiều hơn. Nhưng mà để mà nói để người ta khám phá về cái kênh của mình nhiều hơn nữa thì stream những cái kênh chuyên về livestream như là Twitch hoặc là Nemo TV thì sẽ ổn hơn. Nhưng mà bên Nemo TV của Nemo TV không biết là phải của Việt Nam hay không, nhưng mà bên Nemo TV thì nó không có một cái chương mục dành riêng cho Phan Exile đó, cho nên mình cũng không thích stream bên đó cho lắm. We can see you here. That's good. Oh, okay. Yeah, nó có một cái phần mềm ở trên cái Twitch này. Khi mà mình stream Phan Exile thì các bạn cũng có thể xem cái gear luôn, nhưng cái đó thì cũng không phải là vấn đề. Bây giờ 3-2-1 ngay bắt đầu rồi.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. Thanks for joining us for today's live stream as we unveil Path of Exile Crucible, which launches on April 7th on PC and Mac and on April 12th on console.
Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream, so make sure you follow the instructions below in order to claim your Sphinx wings. Speaking of live streams, this is our last dedicated Path of Exile 1 announcement stream for around 6 months. That's because our 3.22 expansion announcement will occur during the ExileCon livestream in late July. Set yourself a reminder to tune in, because we'll also be unveiling massive amounts of information about Path of Exile 2, including revealing the date that its beta will start. Okay, back to today's livestream. Here's what you can expect. We'll start with a trailer for Crucible, followed by a deep dive on the League itself. Then we'll cover this expansion's endgame improvements, including the introduction of Atlas Gateways and revamps to both Breach and Abyss Leagues. We'll discuss changes to Path of Exile's balance metagame, including changes to the passive skill tree, its masteries, an overhaul of the Saboteur and Pathfinder Ascendancy classes, 9 powerful new Val skills, and some of the new unique items you can build around. After that, we'll cover improvements to the Ruthless game mode and the League launch boss kill event. before diving into the new supporter pack series. The live stream will then conclude with a Q&A session between Ziggy D and me, where we'll answer questions from Twitch chat. After the live stream, we'll drop the full patch notes.
Let's get started with the trailer for Path of Exile Crucible.
Hail, one of many.
Hail.
Eons ago, my kind walked the molten surface of this world. Now, we seek a champion.
Trailer lúc đầu
We
cũng nhìn
must
đẹp hơn gameplay.
endure the heat of the Crucible. To forge weapons unlike any Raycast has ever seen.
Thôi các bạn bên Twitch mình hay bị disconnect rồi xong nó restart nó connect lại như vậy.
And bring obliteration.
Last new Mastery overhaul. Pathfinder rework. Oh, Saboteur rework. Pathfinder with Saboteur. Saboteur rework có thể nó nerf drop.
In Path of Exile Crucible, you'll learn about an ancient race of titans who once shaped the primordial surface of Rayclust. In this league, you will earn the ability to forge their power onto your weapons. And what form does that power take? In an iconically Path of Exile way, it's the ability to imbue your weapons with their own passive skill trees. These Crucible trees can have quite an impact on your character build. For example, in addition to the regular mods on this bow, its Crucible tree grants additional physical damage, physical to chaos conversion, the Master Fletcher notable passive, improved grace effect, and level 10 lesser multiple projectiles. While this is certainly a decent tree to get, it's not even the maximum depth and could be even more optimized for your build. In order to forge these powerful trees onto your weapons, you'll need to complete Crucible encounters. There's one in each area. Each encounter takes place at a Crucible forge. As you approach the forge, you'll have the choice of which of your equipped weapons you want to focus on. This can include ones on your alternate weapon swap if you want to improve one you're not currently using. After selecting a weapon, you channel it at the Crucible forge to spawn monsters. The longer you channel for, the more dangerous and rewarding the encounter becomes. As you spawn additional monsters, they combine together to create larger and more fearsome foes that grant even more experience for your Crucible passive tree. Being able to ramp up the difficulty of the encounters is a double-edged sword. While it gives you the opportunity to make rapid progress on your Crucible weapon crafting projects, it comes with significant risk to your character. It's easy to accidentally overwhelm yourself and make an encounter that is too dangerous. Channel carefully and adapt to what your character is capable of. When you first find a weapon, it doesn't have a Crucible tree unlocked. Channeling that weapon at Crucible encounters will unlock and reveal its tree, as well as allocating the first skill. You can only allocate one skill at each tree depth, so you'll need to decide which path through the tree is best for your build. As you get deeper into a tree, more and more experience is required to unlock skills. The final depths can take quite an investment and can only be found rarely on endgame items, but also have some of the most powerful properties. For example, this wand has 2 depth 5 skills to choose from. One of them allows all damage from your Freezing Pulse and Eye of Winter skills to poison, and the other allows various brands to be attached to your Summoned Reaper. There are many such modifiers to skills that will enable very interesting build combinations. In addition to all types of weapons, shields can also be empowered with their own Crucible trees. Here's a relatively simple low-level example. It gets a bit crazier as you approach the endgame. Speaking of the endgame, in endgame Crucible encounters, you'll occasionally find igneous geodes, currency items that can be cracked open to reveal a primeval remnant. This is a map-like item that grants access to the Forge of the Titans, the culmination of your Crucible journey. These primeval remnants always generate as rare items. Half of their mods are upsides and half are downsides. The upsides generally increase the rewards of the area or add special crafting options. For example, causing monsters to drop divination cards or magmatic ore, a form of tradable itemized Crucible tree experience. The downsides are quite punitive compared to most endgame maps.
Good morning.
Ideally, you want to find a primeval remnant that is really rewarding upsides alongside downsides you can handle. If you don't think you'll survive a visit to the Forge of the Titans, trade the remnant away to someone else and gamble on cracking open another geode. If you survive and manage to reach the end of the area, you'll find the aforementioned forge, which allows you to merge Crucible trees on 2 items together. The way this process works is that you provide 2 items of the same class. For example, a pair of bows, a pair of shields, or a pair of one-hand axes. One of these items will be melted down and applied to the other, which will keep its regular properties. Their Crucible trees will be merged together in an unpredictable way, taking elements of each one. This is a little reminiscent of how recombinators applied to item mods, taking parts of each Crucible tree and merging them together, as well as randomly upgrading, downgrading, or mutating skills on the resultant tree.
Nice.
While this process can create some really powerful trees if you get skills you wanted from both items, it can also completely wreck your precious trees, so take care choosing which you risk combining. Also, like recombinators, there are ways to manipulate the system to improve your odds at getting certain outcomes. For example, any skills that have been allocated are more likely to show up in the resultant Crucible tree.
Không biết là nếu mà mình mirror một cái vũ khí thì cái
By
tree nó có
default,
đi
you
theo
can
luôn
only
hay
add
không?
Crucible trees to non-unique items. But it's possible to get a mod on the Forge of the Titans map that allows you to imbue a unique item with a Crucible tree, which can then be leveled up via regular Crucible encounters. To combine Crucible trees on unique items together, you'll want to find a crystalline geode and crack it open to reveal the secret higher-level version of the Forge of the Titans. I probably shouldn't say too much about it, but it will let you do some interesting things with Crucible trees. There's an important thing to note about Crucible trees on unique weapons. In addition to being much harder to unlock, there's a special rule about how they can be combined. A unique weapon must be combined with another copy of the same unique weapon to merge their trees together. Because this destroys one copy, getting a good Crucible tree on a unique weapon makes it insanely valuable. It may also raise the trade value of all unique weapons by quite a lot, as players sacrifice them trying to create perfect Crucible trees. Occasionally, you'll find a Crucible passive skill tree with a special skill that indicates that the item will sell to vendors for a specific item in addition to its regular sale price. These vendor skills usually occur relatively deeply in the tree, so take some effort to allocate, but usually don't block skill choices you'd make when leveling the item up for use. The presence of these skills presents you with an interesting choice about whether you want to use the item or sell it to a vendor, and whether you want to spend your Crucible experience either revealing new trees to hunt for good skills, leveling up items to use, or leveling up items to sell. Crucible also features its own unique items you can earn. For example, El Abin's Visage, a unique helmet, is special in that it's the only armor piece other than shields that can receive Crucible passive skill trees. Wearing it allows you to double down on certain properties that are only available through these trees. There are several other unique items exclusive to Crucible for you to discover in this league. Crucible is a dual combat crafting league with a focus on encounter difficulty scaling and deep weapon customization with a power level that we have never seen before. Without a doubt, some of Path of Exile's most powerful weapons will be forged in Crucible. We can't wait to see what you manage to create. Like all recent Path of Exile expansions, Crucible includes a lot of changes with the goal of improving Path of Exile's endgame. One area we wanted to address was mobility on the Atlas passive tree. Often, you'll find yourself in a situation where you want to specialize in leagues that are on entirely different sides of the Atlas tree. Or maybe you want to focus on the type of altar that isn't near the leagues you have picked. To solve this, Path of Exile Crucible introduces Atlas Gateways. These are nodes that you can allocate on the Atlas tree that allow instant travel between 2 locations. There are 3 pairs of gateways, each allowing travel from the left side of the tree to the right side or vice versa. Each end of the gateway consumes 1 Atlas skill point to allocate, but will potentially save you large amounts of travel points.
Okay, that's good.
In this expansion, we're targeting a couple of endgame leagues that have fallen behind other leagues on the Atlas tree. Let's start with Breach. In the live version of Path of Exile, there are 5 tiers of Breachstone. In Path of Exile Crucible, we're raising the area levels of Breachstones to a much higher baseline level. 81 for elemental ones, 82 for physical, and 83 for chaos. Now that the regular breach stones are much higher level, we have retired charged, enriched, and pure breach stones. They will be converted to regular ones.
Okay.
We have also changed how flawless breach stones are acquired. Previously, you could only get them from Maven invitations, but we prefer access to the hardest breach content to actually come from playing breach. Now there are two ways to get flawless breach stones: through blessings, which are now rarer as a result, and through a skill on the Atlas tree. We've also improved the pacing of breach encounters. Previously, breaches felt pretty good early on, but quickly tapered off in density to the point where you wanted to abandon the breach because it just felt like not enough monsters were spawning. Our changes now keep breaches feeling dense throughout, leaning more on the side of it feeling overwhelming towards the end of the breach. We have also reduced the duration of breaches so there is constant monster pressure and you can get on with your mapping sooner. There are a whole bunch of other breach changes that you can read about in the patch notes, such as changes to the Betrayal Research Safehouse, Breach Scarabs, Breach Stones from Kirik missions, the Breach Harvest crafting option, the Fragment Stash tab, Divination cards, Breach unique items, Atlas passives, and so on.
Nó cứ improve kiểu này cho
We're
nên
also
những cái
revamping
game khác
Abyss
không
in a
cạnh tranh
similar
được
way.
là vậy.
Abyssal depths now
Mỗi mùa nó
always
cứ thêm
contain
xíu
an abyssal lich.
cộng nhiều năm vô lại
Previously, the
thì nó nhiều
prevailing
content
gameplay
hơn.
was to check the loading screen art of an abyssal depths to see if it contained a lich,
Hơi
and
lag
bail
à?
out if it didn't.
Ừ.
Now, the depths
Cái lúc-
always contain a lich, removing
Yep,
the need for
offline
this
luôn.
step. While the rate of encountering abyssal liches is unchanged, abyssal depths are rarer than
Yeah.
before. However,
Một lý do nữa
abysses
mà
now have
mình
a
sẽ
chance
không
to
live bên
spawn a
Twitch
Stygian Spire
thường
in
xuyên.
place of their
Đó
reward
là
chest,
cứ
which
10
will
phút
drop all
nó
of the
restart
jewels and
lại
other
cái
items
stream
you'd
của mình.
normally receive, as well as a Stygian Vice. In addition, you're
Yeah.
guaranteed to always get a 4-hole abyss alongside your abyssal depths. Previously, abyssal depths could only spawn immediately after a single abyssal hole, which prevented you from getting full value from the abyss. The Lightless Legion notable passive has been replaced with a new skill which grants Stygian Spires in your maps drop items with +1 to item level.
Yes.
This is intended to allow players to continue to be able to obtain item level 86 Stygian Vices and other base types as a reward for specializing in Abyss. The small passives leading up to this notable passive have also been replaced. We've done a balance pass on Abyssal Lich encounters to make them more appropriately difficult relative to the current standard of endgame encounters. Abyss uniques have had some balance attention also, and the details are in the patch notes.
Mình không thích Abyss lắm.
Overall, these changes should ensure you can play a wider variety of leagues in the endgame, both through being able to access them more easily and because Breach and Abyss now feel far more modern and competitive with other popular league content.
Đầu league thì
A
Legion
big goal
vẫn
of the
là
Crucible expansion is to provide a lot of
Legion
new
vẫn là
ways
số
to
một.
build characters, and to breathe new life into older builds.
To achieve this, we're doing two things. Firstly, we have created many more interesting options for one of Path of Exile's core build systems, the passive skill tree, by overhauling many of its masteries. Secondly, we have revamped two specific ascendancy classes. As we reviewed the masteries on Path of Exile's passive skill tree, we realized that a lot of the choices were rather bland and could be a lot more exciting. We went through the masteries one by one and tried to come up with as many interesting stats as we could, ignoring what was currently there.
Once we had a short list of high-quality stats, we added in the existing ones that used to be on each mastery and picked the 6 best. All of the leftover ones have been saved for later or used in places like unique items. This process was performed on approximately half of the masteries on the tree, initially targeting the ones that needed the attention the most. Previously, some masteries only had 4 options, so we've tried to increase as many as possible to 6 options. We've also added a couple of new mastery types that we felt were missing. Let's look at an example, the Life Mastery choices. You can see some of the interesting new options, such as the ability to manipulate your low life and full life thresholds, which allows you to more effectively use the damage while on full life support gem and many unique items. Getting a large increase to maximum life when you have no life on your body armor not only works really well with a whole lot of unique items, but also opens up new prefix composition options for rare body armors. Here you can see the Armor and Energy Shield Mastery has more options available than before. The other thing we focused on with this one is tying the mechanics together better. Instead of some being about armor and some being about energy shield, we've tried to make sure each really emphasizes having both armor and energy shield. On the Leech Mastery, we've combined the 3 increased life mana and energy shield recovery stats into one choice that affects all of them. The space we've freed up has been used to add some powerful new options, such as a portion of your leech applying instantly. The Spell Suppression Mastery also has many interesting options. Your chance to suppress spell damage becoming lucky is extremely useful before
chances for spell damage is lucky.
you've optimized your gear and haven't reached 100% yet. The third option rewards you for stacking more than 100% spell suppression, which previously had few benefits. Now it's something you can plan your itemization around. While looking at masteries, we noted that there were some mechanics that didn't have enough passive tree support, so we decided to add some more options and passive skill choices for those mechanics.
Oh no.
We also wanted to grant more access to certain types of masteries in specific parts of the passive skill tree. For example, in order to allow more access to the attack mastery, we've added an attack cluster by the Templar and one between the Ranger and Shadow. We wanted to create more access to other forms of recovery such as regen and recoup, so we've added some new passive skill clusters. Note that there is now a new mastery called Recovery. We've also added more capacity for investment in certain mechanics that we felt could be improved, such as link skills, stun mitigation, and marks. These mastery improvements and passive tree changes are just some of the ones introduced in Path of Exile Crucible. We look forward to your feedback on the rest when you check out the passive skill tree next week. While going through Ascendancy classes, we identified two that needed work. The Saboteur and the Pathfinder. Both have been significantly changed in Path of Exile Crucible. These changes reinforce their respective identities while adding some new options to build around. The Saboteur is definitely the Ascendancy class most aligned with traps and mines, but the old version of the Saboteur made it difficult to play anything but traps or mines. The new version has more builds available, including a whole new specialization, Triggers. There are two notable passives that help with this. Like Clockwork grants you the increased cooldown recovery rate stat, which is a pretty rare one. This is great for triggered spells as it indirectly increases their damage. This notable also makes your enemies have longer cooldowns, which can be useful in certain boss fights. For example, causing the Maven's memory gap to occur less often. The Perfect Crime notable passive summons two trigger bots, which override the location of where a triggered spell is being cast, and instead causes it to trigger twice, once from each of their locations. The layout for the Saboteur's Trap and Mine Ascendancy passives has changed, so that there aren't separate 4-pointers for traps and mines. Now each one has a 2-pointer that is connected to the same shared 4-pointer.
Okay.
We have also completely reworked Bomb Specialist to be specifically tied to area damage, so it's a slightly more general skill. It both gives you some area damage as well as some defense against incoming area damage against you. The Pathfinder has been overdue for some attention, especially with recent features such as concoction skills that she could get the ability to specialize in. We also wanted the Flask-themed Ascendancy to have a proactive way of improving life flask usage. Master Distiller allows you to turn most of your skills into concoction-like effects. Master Surgeon now effectively gives all of your life flasks the Enduring effect, previously only found on mana flasks. Finally, both of the major flask-themed branches now have some form of flask charge recovery. There are other improvements to the Pathfinder Ascendancy, such as Nature's Reprisal, now interacting with Wither to improve all forms of your chaos damage, rather than just attack forms of it. Check out the full details in the patch notes that we'll be posting after the livestream. Path of Exile Crucible introduces 9 new Val skills. Last expansion, there was an emphasis on melee Val skills. In Crucible, we're making sure that many other types of builds get new skills to build around. Val skills let us introduce quite powerful effects that we couldn't normally give to a regular skill that can be used constantly. They also implicitly act as a buff to the underlying skill. Val Absolution upgrades one of your Sentinels of Absolution into an Apparition of Innocence. You can only have one apparition at once, but just check out these massive AoE skills it uses.
New pet.
Val Arctic Armor instantly encases you in ice, preventing non-instant actions including movement, but granting massive damage reduction against hits. After a short duration, it also starts to regenerate your energy shield and mana at a fast rate. Both the damage reduction and regeneration last for a few seconds, or until you have been hit 3 times. It cannot be manually cancelled. Because the skill is instant, it's a great emergency button against dangerous boss fights, but also makes you count as being frozen, despite Arctic Armor normally making you freeze immune. Having another way to self-freeze may be of interest to a few mad scientist build creators in the community. Val Lightning Arrow fires a barrage of piercing projectiles that cause lightning to strike nearby targets whenever they hit an enemy. After a short amount of time, or when they collide with terrain, the arrows randomly change direction and continue flying. This occurs a number of times before the arrows expire. Each arrow can hit the same target once per redirect. Because the arrows travel for a set time before redirecting, rather than a set distance, projectile speed modifiers affect the distance traveled. High projectile speed lets you clear out huge areas with them, while reducing your projectile speed increases the chance of them hitting the same target multiple times. With very low projectile speed, the skill can hit a single target 20+ times. Val Reap conjures a ring of scythes that deal damage to all enemies in a circular area. The scythes leave behind a pool of blood that deals heavy physical damage over time to enemies standing in it, and for a short duration after they leave it. Val Reap instantly grants a large number of the blood charges used by normal Reap on use, as well as temporarily higher maximum blood charge capacity, substantially powering up the regular version of the skill. Path of Exile Crucible introduces 5 other Val skills we'll reveal over the next week. Val Animate Weapon, Val Domination, Val Ice Shot, Val Rejuvenation Totem, and Val Firestorm.
Yeah, Val Firestorm!
This expansion also introduces more than 10 new unique items. There are 3 in particular I'd like to show you today. Blood Price is a unique helmet that has a new effect, reserving enemy maximum life. This does exactly what it implies, causing nearby enemies to start at 92% maximum life. While this increases your clear speed against all enemies, it's especially useful against bosses. The helmet's drawback is that it reduces your maximum life, but provides decent life regeneration and block and stun recovery to counteract this. Tainted Pact is an amulet that causes chaos damage over time to heal you while you're leeching life. While the amulet provides a decent amount of life leech itself, it'll certainly require a few tricks to unlock its full potential. Widow Hail is a unique bow that is different from any other bow in Path of Exile. As a weapon, it does basically no base damage and doesn't grant any stats of its own, but it does dramatically increase the power of mods provided by your quiver. Needless to say, this could produce some pretty ridiculous outcomes with good rare or unique quivers. We'll reveal some of the other new uniques over the coming week. Ruthless is a game mode that we released alongside the Sanctum expansion late last year.
Ruthless.
It's designed around extreme item scarcity and is challenging because you're constantly behind the item power curve. So far, it has found a very passionate audience of players who love how rewarding item drops feel in such an austere environment. We have some small improvements to Ruthless in Path of Exile Crucible. Firstly, Eternal Orbs are back in Ruthless. These are an extremely powerful currency item that allows you to imprint an item and restore it if you're unhappy with the result of crafting. We disabled these game-wide 7 years ago because they were far too powerful when combined with all of the different crafting options Path of Exile offered at the time. Ruthless does not have the base game's crafting feature set, so we have enabled Eternal Orbs to drop in Ruthless, albeit extremely rarely. Ruthless now has its own set of challenges to complete. Like the ones in early Path of Exile, there were a total of 8, and they're very difficult. Like we've done in the past, we're hosting a boss kill event at the start of the Crucible Challenge League. It'll be held in Ruthless Hardcore Solo Self-Found, and will require you to kill both the Uber Searing Exarch and the Uber Eater of Worlds, making it by far the hardest event we have ever run. The first place winner will get to work with our design team to add a new unique item to Path of Exile. They'll also receive a transferable Ultra VIP ticket to ExileCon in July. If they aren't able to attend or already have a ticket, then they are allowed to sell this one as they see fit. Second and third place finishers will receive a transferable VIP ticket to ExileCon that can also be sold at their discretion. If you'd like to enter the event, just create a character in Ruthless Hardcore Solo Self-Found on launch day. Best of luck to everyone. On the weekend of July 29 to 30 New Zealand time, which is July 28 to 29 for much of the rest of the world, we're going to be hosting ExileCon 2023 in Auckland, New Zealand. While tickets to the in-person event are very hard to get, we'll be streaming the entire event for free. At ExileCon, we'll reveal our latest updates on Path of Exile 2, Path of Exile Mobile, and the next Path of Exile 1 expansion. Make a note in your calendar, tell your friends, and don't miss it. The second day of the Path of Exile livestream culminates in a competitive race event between some of Path of Exile's best players. In order to select the 4 competitors, we're going to run qualifier events during the months of April and May. The winner of each event will receive a VIP ExileCon ticket, return flights to Auckland and accommodation, and will compete in the race event live on stage. All 4 qualifiers in the final event will run on the 3.21 version of Path of Exile, which has received a fair amount of early game balance work that will change the racing meta quite a lot.
You'll be able to read more in the patch notes.
Okay.
Once 3.21 releases next week, you'll be able to solve the new meta, practice hard, compete in the qualifier events, and hopefully win your place on stage in July.
Alongside Path of Exile Crucible, we're introducing a few new types of microtransactions. An example I wanted to describe today is that of mannequins. These are hideout decorations that you can place to show off sets of microtransactions you have assembled. You can equip them with your spare micros and pose them in various ways. It's also possible to swap your entire outfit with a mannequin's one, which lets you easily store microsets to be retrieved later.
Oh, that's a cool one. Other
new microtransactions coming up include wrapping paper, which lets you gift wrap items to hand to other players, or even drop in town for random people to pick up.
What? What?
Today we're launching
What?
two
Có
new
thể
series
cho à?
of
What?
supporter packs, the Lithomancer and Enchanter packs. Each
Wait,
tier
I need to watch that part again. Wait, có thể cho microtransaction cho người khác à? Really?
contains the pack's full face value and points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions. These packs are only available for the duration of the Crucible League, and will leave the store forever when it ends. As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way. The Lithomancer series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. The Tunnel Bear isn't just adorable, he will also take the place of the Crawler in Delves, lighting your surroundings and laying down cables.
Okay.
Apparently, this is what happens when your bear gets into a kilo of sulfite. Might explain what happened to Nico. The Ring of the Demon Slayer attempts to exorcise rare and unique demons when you hit them. The souls of defeated demons are banished to the depths below.
Giết nhiều quái không thấy những cái effect này đâu.
The ancient stone of the Lithomancer's armor set crumbles when you take damage, revealing the crimson core inside. The stone reforms if you haven't taken damage recently.
Okay.
A sip from the ancestral granite flask causes a Karui ancestor to appear and surround you in protective wards. The ancestral portal encases you in molten armor when you travel through it. The summoned Karui ancestor rallies you to battle and honestly seems to have an unhealthy obsession with combat.
Go forth and conquer.
Ever want to practice running away from volatiles? The gunpowder foot attachment straps explosives to your legs, dispersing lit gunpowder behind you. Be careful, you can only outrun it for so long before it catches up. The Enchanter Pack series also has 6 exclusive microtransactions. The Parrot of Exile pet parrots your Exile. We'll just let it speak for itself.
It would be wrong to do that here.
Wrong! I need more mana.
Okay.
Drinking from the bottled storm Jade Flask encases you in a surging tornado, churning up the ground in your wake. If you stand perfectly still while wearing the enchanted armor set, it will attract butterflies to flutter around you. Be careful not to disturb them.
Okay.
Sick of high-fiving giant purple appendages? The Ritualist's Breach Ring visually transforms breaches you find into occult summoning circles. The Enchanter's Crafting Bench replaces the normal crafting bench in your hideout with a suite of tools fit for a master artisan. The various crafting stations burst into life as you use them.
Oh, that looks good.
If you've ever wanted to remind your character who's really in charge, the Puppeteer's back attachment has you covered. It truly is the sinister presence pulling the strings. These new packs are available right now at pathofexile.com/purchase. Purchases like these directly fund the ongoing development of Path of Exile 1 and 2. Meanwhile, the Forge and Gemling packs leave the store forever at the launch of the Crucible League, so now's your last chance to purchase them. Thank you for your continued support.
Okay.
We're about to start the Q&A with Ziggy D. After that, we'll post the full patch notes of Path of Exile Crucible. As we approach release next week, our community team will post Crucible's challenges, information on how to update your item folders, more skill gem details, and information on how to prepare for Crucible's launch. On release weekend, we expect to launch the new mystery box and this season's Kerrick's Vault Pass, which can be purchased with points and has a new free track available. Thanks for joining the stream today and checking out Path of Exile Crucible. We can't wait to forge some powerful weapons with you next week.
30
The
phút.
Q&A will start shortly, so please get your
Các bạn
questions
còn
ready.
phải xem 15 phút Q&A này nữa mới đủ 45 phút để mà lấy cánh nha. Reveal 30 phút thôi. So, Forge. Crafting cho mùa mới thì không phải, nhưng mà nó có cái skill tree mới cho những cái weapon cũng khá là ngon. Tại vì nếu mà crafting bình thường ở trên những cái stat skill thì chỉ có 6 dòng thôi, 3 prefix, 3 suffix cũng có nhiêu đó thôi. Nhưng mà bây giờ nó có thêm những cái cho skill tree cho weapon nữa, so wow, mình thấy là nó sẽ rất là mạnh đấy. Thường mình chơi nếu mà mình chơi custom damage taken thì mình sẽ sử dụng một cái staff unique, đúng không? Bây giờ cái staff unique đó mà có cái skill tree mà ngon lành nữa thì wow, xem rất là mắc. Thôi mà Nếu vậy thì sẽ khó để mà xem trên trade là cái nào, cái weapon nào có skill tree ngon nhỉ? Vậy thì nó phải làm gì đó trên cái trade nữa để mà xem được những cái skill tree, đúng không? Tại vì trên trade thì nếu mà các bạn mua đồ trên trade thì chỉ thấy được 6 dòng graphic suffix thôi. Còn bây giờ nếu mà có thêm cái skill tree thì xem như thế nào trên trade. Cho nên dạ nó phải update cái trade nữa, hoặc là nếu mà nó không có hiện trên trade cái skill tree của cái vũ khí luôn á thì nó sẽ giống như nó sẽ cho chỉ số giống như cái cục jewel gọi là gì ta, mà dùng cho cái build customer taken á. Mình sẽ lên một cái website, mình đánh chỉ số đó vào và mình xem cái skill tree của cái vũ khí đó như thế nào. Nếu mà làm như vậy thì phải dùng một cái third party software khác nữa, một cái third party website khác nữa. Cái vòng này nó có sẵn trên trade luôn để mà khỏi nhảy qua nhiều website quá.
So basically, doing that map,
Vâng, đi
if you
ngủ.
get the mod on it that enables
Đi ngủ
you
được
to
rồi.
put a Crucible tree on unique, and I showed you that's a moderately common.
Về cái
but certainly
video
the
tổng
highest
hợp
you should get
về
lucky
cái
with
mùa
it.
mới này
Then
mình sẽ
you kind of
ngày mai
unlock
mình
the
sẽ làm
ability
nha.
for that unique to then
Có thể
have
là
a tree
chiều
that's
xong
explorable.
hoặc
At
là
that point, you
ngày
can
mốt
then
mình phải
just
upload.
go back to
I don't know.
regular content in your
Để coi
regular
thử
in-game maps
làm
and
nhanh bao
level
nhiêu.
up. It's only
But yeah,
when you need to
hy vọng là ngày
get a
mai
second copy of that
chiều
unique
khoảng trưa
unlocked
hoặc là
and
chiều
or
sẽ
do
xong.
combining that you need to go back to the
Ok.
the primeval.
Đây được cánh rồi, anh em đi ngủ thôi.
Now,
Mình
viewers
cũng
always
sẽ đi
looking
ngủ thôi.
for clever ways around the system.
Nghe hai ông này nói bây giờ buồn ngủ lắm. Vậy đi. Alright, cảm ơn anh em đã theo dõi buổi livestream hôm nay và hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những buổi livestream và những video tiếp theo. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại. Bye bye.